Welcome. This is Hector Combo from the Combo Podcast, and I have the tremendous pleasure of interviewing a very enigmatic character. And if you don't know who he is, or you got lost in the digital trail of his character, then I would like for him to introduce himself. So, John Mack, how are you doing today, sir? And how would you define you as an individual?
Well, yeah, I'm doing great today. Both myself and my wife, Ethne, Mrs. McAfee. How to define me? Listen, I've lived for 74 years in these shoes, and I still have no clue. I'm just an ordinary human being that refuses to bow to authority. That's all.
That reminds me of a pertinent quote from Michelangelo, and it's about he says, "I'm 85 years old and I'm still learning," and that's the beautiful thing about it. I remember my first encounter with you in the Art Bell podcast, and Art Bell being one of my heroes, and I was introduced by him to you. So I've noticed that you've been, they say, on the run, but you've been standing against authority. So, what type of authority are we talking about? Let me pretend to be one of the common people who thinks that government is great. So, why would you run away from government if it's so loving?
Well, well, you have to show me a loving government first. I've never seen one. I'm 74. I've never seen a loving government. What I've seen are people who are put into positions of power either through self will, like dictators, or through a democratic process, like in America. No difference. We've still put dictators into power. Um, I haven't seen any love there. I haven't seen any caring. All I've seen is power, and power begets power, and power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely, and the American government has absolute power. Now, why do I rebel against authority? Because I believe that what I do, say, and think within the privacy of my own home is my fucking business. And if you think differently, as almost all governments do, then you and I will be at odds. And not just that, even when I'm not in the privacy of my home, if what I am doing does not interfere with your right to be yourself, then there's no problem. Now, problems occur when I think I'm going to go naked to the grocery store. Now, that may offend you. Well, then we'll have to talk that shit out. I'm sorry. I don't believe that there are laws that are universal, that there are rights and wrongs which are universal. It's simply here and now and what the human heart has to say about it. And so, if I choose to go naked to the grocery store and you believe that children should not see naked people, especially 74-year-old men, not a pretty sight, I have to admit, we got to talk it out. Got to find some common ground. Maybe I don't like clothes. Maybe I believe that clothes are unhealthy. And in fact, I do. I mean, good God, we keep them on and sweat into them. Please, people, wake the fuck up. Why do you think savages are naked? They've been living in the jungle for 50,000 years and learned that clothes are not healthy. So, whatever. However, in the privacy of my own home, if I'm going to smoke weed, shoot up heroin, engage in perverted sex acts, or believe whatever I want to believe, well, then that's my business. And here is where the governments and I uh, conflict.
Yeah, I definitely see that. And I want to refer back to the Art Bell interview you had several years ago because I feel like it's a good indicator of how much we have transcended this idea that we're free and we're private and we're willing and we're able to cooperate and meet our own needs without an authority figure. And the thing you talk about privacy is where the tribes in the jungle, they have privacy and the modern world is invading them, and so they understand their own humanity, but because we're living in this digital age where we think that algorithms are neutral and equal, we get lost in it. But as an outsider, without ranting too much, honestly, some people who I've talked and I said, "Hey, I'm interviewing John McAfee," their eyes wide up because they see you as a magnanimous character who's standing up against authority. And they might get lost in that, because I know it's not just a myth or a dream. How was your journey in transcending authority and following your own gut instincts and your humanity?
Well, I mean, the first thing you have to understand is that when you do see the truth of your existence, and I saw my existence as being a slave in a system that had caged me. I no longer wanted to be in a cage. You need to understand that freeing yourself is a choice that will change your life forever. And you cannot retrieve what you will have lost. And I have lost everything: money, homes, cars, friendships, neighbors. I have had a wife for 7 years who has stuck with me, Janice. She has lost everything too: her family, our homes, um, because this is what you have to accept. You have to know that if you buck the system, you will no longer be able to play in the system. So we live a life of extraordinary difference from most lives. We can't have telephones. Good God, if we had phones, we'd be arrested immediately. Why? Your smartphones are the ultimate spy device, people. You are being watched and listened to 24 hours a day. And the beauty for governments is you paid for these devices yourself. Good God, how stupid have we become? Doesn't have to be this way. We could have telephones with security, but our governments have pressured and threatened the Googles, the Samsungs, the telephone providers of both software and hardware, and said this is what it's going to be. And the corporations, because what is their goal? Profitability. Are not going to buck the government, because the government says you buck us, we will shut your ass down. Well, stockholders don't like that. So you fall into line and you build the spy devices which we willingly purchase for huge amounts of money. And we download the software which watches and listens to us and spies on us. And if you think that there is some person watching, no, there's artificial intelligence watching and listening. What are they watching for? Certain keywords, key phrases, certain sequences of events or words. Terrorist, anti-American, um, taxation is theft, things of this nature. And that AI moves it up the channel until finally, if it looks severe enough, a human starts to listen to you. And then it's too fucking late. By the time you've annoyed some human within the CIA, you're on a watch list. You're going to be collected. And this is a fact. And there you have it.
Yeah, most people don't realize that the operators of the system are asleep at the wheel, and really what is operating the whole shebang is the artificial intelligence, which is an algorithm specifically manufactured to exploit people's personality and everything. But I know you're getting into the real big concepts for people who have barely heard this, but let's really crack it down. What is the cage? What is this system that we are too blind to see?
Well, it starts with the U.S. dollar or the Japanese yen or the British pound. Doesn't matter. Choose a fiat currency. It's all the same. Let's use the U.S. dollar. It's world famous. Who owns the dollar? You. It's in your pocket. You don't own it. The fucking Fed owns that dollar and controls that dollar and monitors that dollar and tells you, for example, whether or not you can send it to Iran or Iraq. Tells you whether you can actually take it out in cash and put it in your pocket and move to the Bahamas with it. If it's more than $10,000, I promise you, you can't. So, with control over currency, you need to ask, well, so what? What does currency do? Well, without it, can you pay your rent, send your kids to school, buy food, clothes, medical help? Can you get a car? No, you can't do anything, people. It is fiat currency, which is your cage. And cryptocurrency, especially privacy coins like Monero and distributed exchanges, free us from that control because no one controls Monero or any other privacy coin. No one controls a digital exchange, neither can it ever be shut down. These technologies we must integrate into our lives, not so that we can buy and sell crypto in order to make money. No, that is the greatest perversion ever invented. To take this golden key given to us to unlock the cage that we have been forced into. And instead of using it to unlock the cage, we're scratching our fucking ass with it by trading and trying to make money. Good God, wake the fuck up, people. Use crypto for what it was intended. The key to unlock your cage. Come across the line. I live in a world where we don't use fiat currencies. None of us. All of our income is crypto. All of our purchases are crypto. Houses, cars, clothes, nothing that you can't buy with crypto. Now, I don't have the freedom to go down to my local coffee shop and buy a cup of coffee. Big fucking deal. I'm surviving. And tens of thousands of us are surviving outside of the cage. We don't use, we don't touch, we don't have fiat currencies. We are paid, we do our jobs in crypto. We purchase everything that we need with crypto. Come across the line, people. See what true freedom really fucking is.
That's the beautiful part about it. I know that you're really speaking from experience and most above passion, and the passion that I see, I also reflect it because I have noticed that the currency matrix, the control system mechanism, is based on controlling people's choices without even them knowing. So the dollar doesn't even incentivize people to save and incentivize them to spend at their own expense.
Yes,
So
yes,
that's the beautiful thing you said about the crypto. It's a key that unlocks. Meanwhile, we have people on Twitter who are like on a mania trying to pump and dump every penny that comes from rises and bottoms and stuff like that. And it's just ludicrous because we're moving beyond that point, and there's such a beautiful nexus where either we have the juxtaposition where people believe that the cage is the only thing that exists and the real organic natural progression of humanity outside of that. And talking about crypto, we're going to go into what you are currently involved in, and that is the decentralized exchange. And that is what really is interesting here and exciting because imagine you're trying to get Bitcoin, you're trying to get Monero, you're trying to get all these other cryptocurrencies, and what does government do? They track, trace, and surveil everything you do to take your money. And when they do it,
yes,
they're not going to be friendly. And what the IRS is doing is targeting people who talk about Bitcoin. So enough of my
yes.
rant. Please continue, John McAfee.
Well, that's why I've been targeted. Not because I'm talking about Bitcoin, because I'm talking about cryptocurrencies as a general concept. Bitcoin being just one of them, the oldest, the first one. It's a little outdated. It's no privacy, no smart contracts, no dApps, but it'll be around. But the true powers are privacy coins, smart contracts, distributed applications that most of the newer blockchains all support. Um, so what am I involved in? I've developed the first truly decentralized and distributed exchange. Decentralized meaning I have no control over it. Um, you want to list a coin? Go ahead. You don't have to pay money to anybody because we don't control it. Press a button, list your coin, free. Um, we don't take any information. We don't want to know who you are, what your name is. We don't save your IP address. We don't ask for an email address. Nothing. And the entire system logic is smart contracts on the Ethereum blockchain, the Binance blockchain, the Tron blockchain, all the blockchains that will support smart contracts And we've just added Bitcoin 2 weeks ago, and it's going to go live in just a few days. So we will be a true exchange in a few months after we have every coin up and running. We already have DAI, the most stable of all coins. So you don't need to get out of crypto in order to make sure your money is protected. If you want, people go, oh, I got to get US dollars because the market's going to crash. Well, who cares? Buy DAI. Don't get out. Same thing. DAI never varies more than 1% from the US dollar. So we've already got stable coins. We're having privacy coins. We've got Bitcoin. We will, by the 1st of May, be a true exchange, far more useful than Binance will be, because we will have every coin, and it charges nothing to list a coin. So please, and if I do get collected, captured, and the IRS and SEC says shut it down, I can't. Smart contracts on the blockchains, people. I can't shut it down. No one can shut it down. God himself could not shut it down without changing the laws of mathematics and saying 1 + 1 is no longer 2. If God wants to do that, then we'll have a different universe. Barring that, no one will ever be able to shut it down.
Do you see yourself as someone who's advocating freedom but outside of the box, and in such an extent that people don't understand and need to catch up? And if so, how do they catch up to your level of understanding?
Yeah, that's the question, isn't it? The difficulty is this: 95% of the people look at crypto as a way to make money fast. Let's get rich quick. There is no more seductive idea in the world. The get rich quick scheme. As long as you're stuck in that scheme, there's nothing I can do for you. Nothing anybody can do for you. You got to back off and see the truth of the underlying architecture and principles of cryptocurrency. That it is the golden key to unlock your cage. You want to get rich after? Be my guest. But free yourself first. And to free yourself, you must stop using the US dollar, the Japanese yen, the euro, the British pound, the Chinese yuan. Completely and exclusively use privacy coins and cryptocurrency to free yourself. Why? You use Monero, you get paid in Monero, and you buy all your shit in Monero. You don't ever have to pay taxes unless you choose. You want to tell them how much you've made? Because no one will ever know. Go ahead. Be honest, pay your taxes. If you believe, as I do, that taxation is theft, then don't pay your taxes. Tell them you made $12 last year. No one will ever be able to say otherwise. Do you understand? That this alone frees you the ability to send and receive money without permission. I want to take more than $10,000 in cash to Europe. Well, get approval from the US government first. No, you don't need any approval. You don't need permission, and you don't need trust. You need to know that mathematics itself is the operator of this environment, and you can trust in that. I mean, as long as 2 + 2 = 4, then that's all you need to trust, people.
Wow, you bring up a lot of things in my mind. Definitely the 2 + 2 reminds me to the state's perspective, the Orwellian perspective, where imagine humanity being stopped. That is the future of government, where 1 + 1 is 0 or 1 + 1 is 3. That is their logical sense. And one thing to remember also, the individual possesses the rational mind, but the collective of drones, those people who push the buttons in the system, they don't have a mind. It's the artificial hive mind. But here's one thing that you bring up so good: this phantom in people's mind of greed. And you've been a wealthy man, you've lost it all, and you regained it. And I love what you say: if you love what you're doing, you'll never ever lose anything. Maybe I botched it, but
No,
you
that's
tell me,
true.
sir. For someone
No,
who lost
you're
it
right.
all and gained it all, tell me about it.
Well, I mean, lost it all a bunch of times. um, Money is easy to make, people, providing you're doing what you love. Because if you're doing what you love, I don't care what it is, if you're manufacturing shoelaces, if that's what you love, you will succeed. I promise you. Life gives everything to those who follow their hearts. I don't know how it works. I wish I did. It defies the laws of physics, but then mankind is not part of the laws of physics. We're part of the laws of chaos, which is part of physics, I guess. So, no, do what you love. End of story. And don't do anything else. And if you find yourself, if you're waking up in the morning, people, on Monday, and you're going, oh God, I got to go back to work, then why the fuck are you working there? Stop immediately. Call the boss and say, I quit. Why don't you? Well, I'll starve. My kids won't get to go to school. I won't be able to pay my rent. Well, maybe. But why don't you see what really does fucking happen when you follow your heart? I promise you, no one starves. No one goes hungry. No one is without shelter. This, people, I promise you, try it and see. Your heart will not lead you into darkness. Your heart leads you into the light of day, where the things that you think you need to protect yourself from that darkness which surrounds you are no longer needed because you're living in the light, people. Try it. Do only what you love and nothing else. That's all I've ever done. Yeah, I've made hundreds of millions of dollars and lost every penny. I came back to America 8 years ago and met Janice. I did not have a penny to my name. I was released from a Guatemalan jail, put on an airliner, and dumped in Miami without a fucking penny. I had a coat, a shirt, pair of pants, a belt, and shoes and socks. That was all. And from that, we've made tens of millions and lost tens of millions. It does not fucking matter. Just do what you love. See what happens. I promise you, it will be a vast improvement over waking up on Monday going, oh God, I got to go to work. If that is your attitude, then you are an idiot for going to work. Thank you.
No, I thank you for the answer because that's a candid, very straight to the point thing. And I've noticed that people's scarcity mentality is the main thing that keeps them in the cage. And that is what it's exploited by the system. They exploit the wars, they exploit the poverty, they exploit the division because that's what keeps them in service. So now let's move on to the next segment. And I like to call this segment the State of the Union. Now, I understand that you are embarking in a libertarian candidacy for president. Whether it's serious or not, I'm more interested in what your wisdom or what you see. Mr. Jon McAfee, what is the State of the Union?
Well, first of all, this is my second run. I ran on the Libertarian Party in 2016. I came in third for the nomination, my first time in politics. I think that I've been running an underground campaign, and the Libertarian Party will be extraordinarily surprised at the support that I'm going to get. And I think I will get the nomination without much true campaigning. State of the Union is we are living under a dictatorship, a system of deception, lies, and control. A police state where every single movement, every word, every gesture is watched, if not by people, by AI. Using what? Well, Alexa, the telephone you carry with you willingly wherever you fucking go. Your TV sets. I mean, almost every TV set manufactured in the past 2 years is watching you and listening to you. Samsung, 2 years ago, finally admitted, yes, we are listening for marketing purposes only. And if you want to have a private conversation, do not do so in front of our television. Please, God, wake up, people. You're living in a police state. in a totalitarian regime that knows everything about everybody. And this has been the philosopher's stone of dictators since the beginning of time. If they could only know everything about the populace, they would have absolute control. We're at that point, and our government has absolute control, and we have none. But the power we do have, people, see this. The government and all of its power, its battleships and nuclear weapons and stealth bombers and drones, technology, rests on our backs and shoulders and exists by the fruits of our labor. If we all wake up and see the truth, well, I don't know if you've ever read Ayn Rand or the book Atlas Shrugged. That's all we got to do, people, is shrug. It's gone. The government dies. There is no more power. Shrug these motherfuckers off.
John, you beat me to the punch because I was just in my mind. I was saying you beat me to the punch, just like where is Jon McAfee instead of where is John Galt? Seriously, because you know.
Sorry, I had no clue. That's where you were going. All right.
And I was like, he got it. I know it's all good, man. Because seriously, I see you as that John Galt type where people like yourself are very entrepreneurial and they're building things and they're telling us things we don't want to hear.
Yes. Go on. Yes, that's what we are. But we can only do it now, like me. I'm in fucking hiding. It's very common. Where is Jon McAfee? Nobody fucking knows except my wife and our protectors. So when you say, where's John Galt? Same fucking thing. Nobody knows, and nobody knows where I am. I can only exist in that state where no one knows where I am. If they did, I would be collected and silenced. Thank God I created most of cybersecurity. I built the first antivirus computer security company and still the largest. I know security. So when I want to hide, I promise you, you won't hide, you won't find me. Now, it's not perfect. We can't have phones. Janice and I haven't had phones for a year. If we had one, we'd be collected because I know what that would do. Instantly, it's going to connect to the cell towers, and within 30 minutes, they're going to identify that phone belonging to me and triangulate within 5 feet of where I am. So no, we can't have phones, but I can communicate with you through a very complex series of virtual private networks. Not the things that you download from Google for $79. No, I mean some real shit. Because I know how to do this. And I am free to talk to you and anybody within certain constraints. And that's all I'm asking. And that's all I can do. And anybody, any entrepreneur. Now, for 8 months we've been underground. Doesn't matter. I started the McAfee Dex. I'm doing all kinds of things. I can still be a creator. I can still do real work and produce real products. It's just more difficult. And I have to do it from hiding. And you two people, eventually, if you want to truly create, you will have to go underground. I'm sorry. It's just the facts of life. Because governments do not want true creativity. Why? Creativity creates uncertainty, something new. Governments want stability, everything the same, day after day after day. So you will be a pariah. We'll all be John Galt's eventually. Or we'll all wake up and shrug this monumental horror. I mean, worse than Nightmare on Elm Street and Rosemary's Baby, all the horror films combined. What's on Our Shoulder is more horrific than you can imagine. but so trivial to shrug off if we do it universally together.
To that point,
And
let's.
we're
Oh, go
we're
on.
running a little bit out of time. We have one more question.
Okay, all right. So let's get right to the questions then, because I know that you're is very important time, and I'm going to shoot them to you. I'm sorry about that. Here's a very important question, and it's not a softball question. It comes from Daniel Johnson. How is it possible that the cartels just so happened to attempt to kidnap you right before two different conferences that you were supposed to talk? Why is it just not an excuse to break contracts and not attend where you promised to be?
Well, okay. If anybody knows anything about us, I mean,